Hartley-Brewer. This is Talk, the home of common sense, and now I'm delighted to welcome to the show Bonnie Blue. Not her real name. She's a porn star and social media influencer. Her real name is Tia Billiger. So Tia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for
joining us. Now, an awful lot of people getting very angry online about me inviting you onto the show, and I'll come to that in a moment. But I just want to say, first of all, I know it's school holidays. I know it's only 11's time in the morning, so you might be maybe in the car. You might have youngsters with you. We're not going to be talking too explicitly because of the time of day, but even if you don't want your youngsters to hear this conversation, your children, maybe tune out. Maybe you can listen to it back later on YouTube. You go to my show, my YouTube page, Julia Hartley-Brewer show. You can do that. But I just want to give you a warning. The conversation is going to be about pornography. It's a conversation we do need to have, and if you think it's not a conversation we need to have, then perhaps you really do need to listen. But if you've got younger people in the or people of a more sensitive nature with you, maybe tune out for half an hour. I'm just going to say that, okay? You've had the warning. But Tia, thank you so much for joining us. Now,
where do we start?
Where do we start? Okay, look, you came to fame on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
You were making millions on OnlyFans, still making huge sums of money. You've done some. Well, I suppose you made your name out of turning sex into an extreme sport. 1,000 men in 12 hours ended up being more than 1,000 men.
Yeah.
They have sex with you for free. They're complete strangers, but you make money by filming it and putting it online. And then people subscribe and they get to see it. And the Channel 4 documentary last week caused something of an outcry when the advertisers said we don't want to be associated with her. Do you understand why advertisers don't want to be associated with you and why people are angry at you for what you do?
I mean, one of them was an alcohol company, so I don't really understand what their issue could be, because I know Smirnoff Ice was something I used to drink as a kid on the park, and most people do. So they're sort of hypocrites, because they're saying, oh no, it's a bad influence for young people. Okay, well, alcohol is bad, whereas at least sex is pleasurable and it's not damaging.
Alcohol's pleasurable.
Yeah, it is, but it also can be very damaging. It can lead to a lot of people having issues. It depends how you look at it. The sex I'm having is very pleasurable.
Okay, and I suppose that's the thing where people get into. I mean, again, I don't want to go into too many details at this time of day, but apparently I've been told we can use the phrase gangbang. It surprises me. That's
PG.
We're all surprised by that. But you having sex with a number of men at the same time. Lots of them wearing balaclavas, who've queued up and they've had their STD tests. They've guaranteed that that they are over 18, so it's all legal. But you having sex with a whole bunch of completely strange men, some masked at the same time, telling them they can, do what they want to you. You've used phrases like "destroy me," "do what you want to me," "I want you to rearrange my inside."
See, they're all words that really excite me. Like, I really, really enjoy that. So for me, that's like the best day ever, telling so many guys that I've got blue ski masks, say like, hey boys, come and destroy me, come and rearrange my insides. And for some people, they find that disgusting, they're mortified by it. But me, I honestly love it.
You're not saying it just because you know that's what will get you clickbait and that a lot of men may be titillated by that. You're saying that does it for you as well.
Yeah, I understand that. Everyone wants me to be traumatised. Everyone wants to see me crying, breaking down, and that's what the people thought they was going to see in the documentary, but that's not me. If I was trying to put on a show and everything else, then I'd probably try and look more emotional. But that isn't me. I really enjoy this.
Because lots of people were saying, look, and again, the stats are very clear. Women working either in pornography or working as prostitutes. The rates of women who have been sexually abused is sky high. Who've been abused as children, been in domestic abuse or other sexually abusive relationships. The rate of suicide attempts and suicide among people who've worked in your industry is sky high as well. So the assumption was you've come from an unhappy home, you've been abused, but your family are in the
they're more than supportive, and time again
and your ex-husband, partner of 10 years.
And everyone the whole time I've spoke about my ex-husband always being super supportive, and everyone thinks I'm lying. I say I've got a family who support me, they think I'm lying, and then every time I just say and I show the evidence of hey, here's my family and here's my partner, but it's still ignored.
So you kind of break the expectations of a lot of people, which seems to make people more
angry.
So people were saying to me online when we put out we were going to interview you, well, why are you publicising this? They're using, a lot of the normal, prostitute, whore, sluts, like they're using an awful lot of words to describe you that often are talked about any woman who enjoys sex.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing, right? I don't, you're probably too young to remember. You're in your early 20s. You're probably too young to remember Mary Whitehouse. But in my day, when I was a bit younger than you, it was a really big thing at the time where there was a woman very she looked like she was out of a different age, basically saying we shouldn't have any sex or anything on television, and even the sight of a nipple was shocking at that time. That's how much things have changed. And I think you're probably going to be thinking, God, I'm sitting here with this today's version of Mary Whitehouse. I've raised in a very liberal family, very liberal attitudes towards things like sex and things, and talking about it, being open and the like. My main feeling when I watched the documentary was sadness.
Okay.
And even though you're this beautiful young woman, you say you're feeling very empowered.
Yeah.
You say that, and you're earning millions. You probably don't have to do another day's work in your life if you don't want to. You say you're enjoying what you do, your family are there surrounding you. But my main feeling was sadness. And the reason I felt sad was that I felt, and again, I'd love to hear your answer to this. I think you're kidding yourself. Why? And is that an attitude you often get from people, especially women?
Everyone thinks I'm lying. Everyone thinks when I say I'm enjoying it, it's clickbait. I'm saying it just because it's my job to say I enjoy it. But really,
she would say that, wouldn't she?
Yeah, of course. And I understand that. And I think, you know what, put me on a lie detector test, because I honestly enjoy it. I get so much pleasure from it. And I can understand for most people, they'd be repulsed by it. But
particularly most women.
Yeah, 100%. But for me, I really do have fun, and I'm really grateful to do what I do.
But this wasn't something that you were doing in your personal life before you started making money. I've listened to a long podcast and watched the Channel 4 documentary. You led a very normal life. You had a sort of childhood teenage childhood sweetheart. You married him. He's in the video in the documentary. Normal life, and then you realised you could make money and have a more interesting life by selling sex. Now. Do you regard sex work, and you don't charge the men you have sex with, but you charge people to watch you having sex with these men? So it's slightly different, but you said quite openly you don't care if someone calls you a prostitute.
No.
It doesn't bother you?
The definition of what I do, I'm really not bothered whether it's, I'm not going to list them all, but no matter what you call me, I'm not offended by it, because I'm really proud of what I do, and whatever category that falls in, I always say, as long as it's above board and legal, I really can't be offended by anything you say.
And I suppose that's where I sort of start questioning, is it something that should be legal? Because a lot of feminism these days is about female empowerment.
Yeah.
And it's, your body, your choice, you want to do it. We should believe women.
They seem to be crying about the fact I now use my body to make money, and if anything, I have men on their knees as opposed to the other way round. But now, unfortunately, women are still crying about that.
And you think they're wrong because?
They've always got to be whinging about something. Can't they just be happy? Can't they just see a woman that's independent? I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't do any of that. I just have sex, I earn a lot of money from men, and I'm happy. But they've still got an issue with that.
Do you think that you're using the men, not them using you?
I mean, I always say, to the men, look, honestly, use me, rearrange my insides and all of that.
Yeah, every time you say that phrase, I kind of recoil. Why?
Yeah.
What does that,
it's just
you're basically saying, you say to men, and you've said in videos, strangle me, slap me, spit on me.
God, you sound like you're about to start one of my videos.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be making the same money as you. Urinate on me, all these things. And I get, look, we've had, 50 Shades of Grey, which apparently is very, very popular, very tame compared to the stuff that you talk about. I think there are women who might, maybe think they might do an OnlyFans account, which is where you kind of started making your money, or some women we know work at escorts. We've got university students saying, look, instead of waitressing 7 shifts a week, I can just do, a couple of hours and I make the same money. But you're not talking about having sex. You're talking about an extreme sport, something that could be very dangerous. I don't understand, again, maybe it's just my age, I don't understand why any woman would want a complete stranger, let alone 5 or 6 of them, surrounding them, wearing masks, strangling them. I find that utterly depraved and sad and terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, for one, sex with one person could be dangerous. Just because you're having sex with multiple people, it doesn't necessarily increase the levels of
Do you have security in the room?
Yes, I have security.
Doesn't that tell you that it's dangerous, though? Because most people, when they have sex, people don't feel the need to have security in the room because they don't think they're at risk.
For sure, but I share my location online. Anyone can turn up, especially these middle-aged women that judge and do nothing but scroll on TikTok.
So women turn up?
Well, no, they can't be asked to get off the sofa. If they had some sort of work ethic, then yeah, probably. But the security is more to protect the men than it is me, because these men have never been in a room before with hundreds of guys. They might get something spilt on them. And I don't want there to be sort of arguments or a fight broken out. So the security is to make sure...
So you basically have bouncers to deal with them?
It's never happened, but it's just to make sure everything goes smoothly. And you don't want to be stressing about it.
No, but again, I find it interesting. You were talking about how you now need security even to walk in public. You basically sort of kind of quite isolated now. That's another thing that I thought was sort of a bit sad, that you've got all these millions, everything you wear. I mean, you've probably got, watches that cost more than some people's, homes, and, designer clothes, and, you've got all the, the hair done and all the stuff that a lot of young women would dream about. But do you have a life that is fulfilling?
For sure. Like, my life has never been more fulfilling. Like, what's not shown in the documentary is the fact I get to travel the world. I go to the most beautiful places. I get to
have sex with strange men.
No, not just that. There's another part of my life as well. Like, the things that was highlighted in the documentary is all my gangbangs, is all the events. There's a whole nother side to me.
Those are just the extreme events that get you the notoriety.
I do have a life, I mean, my life is gangbangs, but I also have a life aside from that as well. And obviously that wasn't really shown.
And there's life aside from that. A lot of that is, saying on the documentary, something like 6 hours a day online, talking with men. You often talk about the men who are contacting you via OnlyFans, but now you've got taken off OnlyFans. But as if they are somehow their friends, as if they are, like you work in a paper factory, and then your clients, they're your customers. You talk about them very normally, and you defend them and say these are really nice, normal guys. They're very friendly. When you meet them in the street, they're very friendly. But then you're very, very damning about the women, and you've talked about fat women on benefits not willing to get off the sofa. You've said before, they instead worrying about me, they should get off the sofa, they get off the sofa and go to the gym, and also that they should be satisfying their men. So are you of the view that the men who want to come and have sex with you, even if they're, say, married, perhaps to a woman who does look after herself and goes to the gym, or whatever it is you think they should do, that's normal and okay for them to do that?
I think everyone's got a different reason to come in to see me. It's not, I used to think, if someone is not sleeping with their wife and they're going elsewhere, that's cheating. They don't love their life, they don't love their family.
If you were married, you wouldn't have wanted your husband to cheat.
For sure, but then when I started speaking to these men and I got to know them on a more personal level, I realised they absolutely adore their wives sometimes. They adore the family life, but they really want sex, they really want to be pleasured. They're working really hard, they're paying the bills, they're looking after the house, and their wife, for whatever reason, no longer wants sex. So my point was, look, if you're not pleasuring your husband, he is going to be going elsewhere. And surely you'd prefer it to be me than someone he works with, someone he sees every day in the office.
Because he's not going to leave his wife for you?
No. It's just, you're another guy. Like, obviously, yes, I get to know them really well, but also they know they're one of 1,000.
You're very sympathetic to the men in a way you're not sympathetic to the women.
I've got to know, maybe if I...
You've got to know them.
100%.
Have you got to know them? A man in person or online?
Both, obviously predominantly online. I only do events sort of once a month or once every 6 weeks. So, but online I can speak to them every day.
And you think you're having an honest, real relationship with those men?
Obviously, I'm not there going, we're officially together, we're going to get married, but you really get to know them on a personal level. You can access Fansly on your phone, on your laptop. It's like texting. And of course, you'd be able to get to know someone very well online.
And you think the men who basically are paying to talk to you are being honest about themselves?
They might be lying, but also, who doesn't exaggerate sometimes? Who doesn't lie? If they want to make themselves feel better and tell me they've got, they earn $1 million a year, then so be it.
So you don't know them?
Yeah, everyone varies. And as long as they're coming away from messaging me feeling good, that's the benefit.
We're going to take a quick break. Then I want to talk to you about, I suppose, sex as an extreme sport, and how much more extreme it has got in recent years, and how much more extreme it can become. But also, I also want to talk to you about why so many other young women think that what you do is great and want to emulate you. Because as a mum myself, and someone I'm very proud to call myself a feminist, that horrifies me. And we'll come back and we'll talk to you about that up next. Do stay tuned. This is Talk. continue our conversation with Tia Billinger. You may know her better as Bonnie Blue, porn star and social media influencer. Just a reminder again, you might want to be angry about the interview without listening to it. I suggest you go back to the YouTube page and watch it afterwards. But if you have got kids in the car, someone of a more sensitive disposition, we are talking about pornography. It's an important conversation, important debate to have. So if you do feel uncomfortable with that, I recommend turning the radio off just until midday, and I promise you, you can come back then and it will be perfectly safe. In the meantime, welcome back, Bonnie Blue, Tia. Can I say, is Bonnie Blue a character for you, or are you Bonnie Blue now?
It used to be. It used to be fake orgasms. The whole thing was sort of just not me. And then gradually over the years went on. Yeah. Okay. And then as years went on, it's completely merged.
This is the thing, as the years go on, this is where I'm going to go a bit, 57-year-old mum on you. Okay. Yeah. One of my big worries is about pornography. And, the sort of magazines that I would have found when I was a youngster, and we'd all be shocked by, a man and a woman having sex. Literally, that's it. Very, very bog standard, ordinary stuff. And most of my audience, that's what they would have found. What is online now is terrifying. And I've said many times on the show, most parents haven't got a clue what not just their kids, but their teenagers, even younger, are seeing online. It starts
a lot younger than what people think.
Much younger, indeed. But also what they're seeing online 2 or 3 clicks away, not on the dark web, on the main sites, through Google, their kids are seeing strangulation, incest, violence, horrible stuff that I'm absolutely horrified by. Yeah. You do this for a living.
Yes.
Are you not in danger of normalising this, not just for men, that this is what women like, you say you enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I think you're lying, I don't know what's in your mind, but also normalising it for young women and girls, thinking this is what they have to do, when you must know that most women don't do or enjoy these things.
No, which is why my queues are so long. But no, like what I'm doing to a certain degree isn't normal. It's extreme, like you've said. I know every girl knows this is not the day-to-day sex you have. Even I don't have this sex often, let alone them. And there's loads of things I don't do or I don't consent to. So I'm a clear example of you can consent to one thing and then not the other. You should never feel pressured by anybody to do something you don't want to do.
But the stuff you do consent to and you say that you enjoy, you actually encourage men to slap you and strangle you, use that phrase again, destroy me. I am horrified that any young woman, anyone would think that about themselves, say that about themselves and believe that about themselves.
That's not every time. Like there'll be sometimes I could have intercourse and I'm not left, with messy hair and makeup smudged all over my face. But then sometimes I want my face to look messy. I want it to look like I've just had sex.
Okay, but that's how you look is irrelevant to what you might feel, though. I mean, you say you enjoy it, but the worrying thing is a lot of young women now are being forced into doing things they don't want to do because they think that's what boys want. Boys think it's what girls want. Are you not contributing as part of having done your OnlyFans and the effectively extreme sports that you do? I mean, and the one that's mentioned in this Channel 4 documentary that you wanted to do and not done yet, I believe, is saying it based at the Human Zoo, where you would be tied up in a glass box and men could come and do whatever they wanted to you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm so. It's not often I'm struggling with words. I'm so horrified by that. That to me is sexual torture. That is abuse. That is not something that any woman should want to do, be willing to do, that men should be allowed to pay to do. And yet there's a part of me going, well, if you're both consenting adults, what's the issue?
That's the main part. Everyone in that room, including myself, was consenting. Whatever happened within that glass box was me saying, yes, I agree to this. There's loads of different types of sex that people have, and just because they're not all over social media or they don't talk so proudly about it as I do, you don't realise about it. But the sex I have, to a certain degree, is very consensual. It's discussed beforehand, these consent forms, these IDs, these breathalyzers. If anything, that the consent process is so long in comparison to the time they actually have with me.
Yeah, well, he did the 1,000 men, that was the 40 seconds, I think, they were allowed, because you're actually working on the timing. And yet, are you not contributing to the pornification of society, where women are seen as, and girls are seen as, something, not someone, that men do things too, that they are allowed to physically hurt for their sexual gratification. Even if you say you enjoy it, are you not contributing to that being normalised in a way that it absolutely wasn't in my day? And I think in most people's sex lives it's not. And you normalise that, and you're, in that case, not someone who's just, you're a feminist earning loads of money, millions in the bank, and, and it's all great and wonderful, but actually you are contributing to real life harm.
No, it's the complete opposite. I do really good for society.
You do good for society? In what way?
100%. I mean, the amount of husbands I pleasure, the amount of students I actually educate. Like you said,
you had a barely legal thing where you basically took the virginity of a lot of young men.
For sure. And like you said, they'll be watching online, people being choked, people being slapped. But it's one thing seeing that online, and there's another thing actually performing that.
But we know that more and more young men and boys are doing that to their first girlfriends. And their first girlfriends are going, what the heck?
Yeah, but that girl often is not, loud enough to speak up, say, hey, actually, you don't like it, or I don't want it like this.
Because they've been told it's normal by women like you.
But it's not normal. Every woman, and I've said this the whole time, no one has ever heard me say, you should be choked, you should be spat on.
But when a beautiful young woman like you, who's very successful, you have the Prada handbags, and I'm on, here I am in the Maldives today, and I'm making millions doing this, aren't I successful? I'm empowered, I'm living my best life, and I encourage men to strangle me, slap me, spit on me, and when you say that, you are normalising it to young girls.
But for me, I always say everyone likes different things. Every guy I meet, and even women, have different requirements in the bedrooms, different things that make them finish, things they enjoy and things they don't enjoy. And that's what I say. Learn what you enjoy and speak up about it.
Well, you talk about it being about consenting adults, but I mean, at the end of the Channel 4 documentary, I mean, I have to say that was particularly the bit that really, I found very difficult. You have a sort of a barely legal thing, and we know this is a huge thing in pornography of particularly young women who look as if they are under 18, but actually are legally over 18. There are a couple of young women in that video. I mean, they look like little girls. I mean, they looked 13, 14. They've got their fake eyelashes and their big hair, but they look like little girls to me. And they were 18, but they were doing OnlyFans.
It was actually 22.
22, yeah, but OnlyFans accounts, but they were over 18. And you were doing a scene where basically you are a teacher teaching girls and boys in a classroom, dressed in a school uniform. Again, we have a massive issue with what is going on in terms of grooming gangs, in terms of people, of more and more men looking at underage. Well, I say not as underage porn, it's not children porn, it's sexual abuse when it's a child underage. Again, normalising that sexual urge. Again, aren't you part of the problem? Isn't that part of grooming?
The only difference is if men have done it for years and years and years, and now suddenly the women have done a massive uproar because I'm the older one sleeping with younger men. Men have always slept with people dressed as schoolgirls, people doing role play as schoolgirls, and they don't ever discuss the consent on camera. Whereas during my video that you saw where they was dressed up, we discussed consent. We discussed how to choke properly, how to slap properly.
How to choke. See, when you're having conversations about how to choke properly.
But if I'm not doing that, all those people are going to watch online is a video where they've seen a girl get really roughly choked, and it's not been discussed at all. So if that guy then does it to another girl who's freshly 18, how is he not going to hurt her? How does she know to speak up? So I am doing good for society, because if I wasn't doing these sex tapes that show more of the educational side, I mean, the parents aren't teaching them. The parents pretend as if they don't even watch porn.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people being angry. My thing is, this is all happening. Do you consider yourself a feminist, making millions from using your body as you choose?
I always hate that question, because I feel like if I say I am, people are going to cry about it. If I say I'm not, people say, actually, you do a lot for women. So I sort of sit on the border. You're not going to see me doing no petitions.
Just not words you like.
Yeah.
You think, come on, you're in one video talking about, feminists have been moaning and whinging for 100 years. And they're still moaning and whinging
suddenly, instead of using their voice and their platform to talk about, men unfortunately hurting women a lot, or doing something which is going to help make a difference, they're crying about me doing consensual sex and saying I'm promoting things.
Your mother says she supports what you do. She said, look, basically, if anyone, I defy anyone, not to, lose the morals they claim to have effectively for £1 million a month. But I don't think I would earn £1 million a month. But no, I wouldn't do what you do for £1 million million pounds a month or even 10 million pounds a month. And I think most women wouldn't. But I'm worried that more and more young women would do that because they've seen your success. But would you want your own daughter, if you ever did have a child? Now, you talked about your difficulties having children, you'd need IVF, but would you ever want your own daughter? Would you encourage your own daughter to do what you do?
If they, and you're going to think I'm sort of telling lies, but if they genuinely wanted to do this,
genuinely wanted completely strange men in balaclavas to strangle them.
Yeah, I would honestly support them. I'd have to explain all the risks, all the dangers, but the world's a dangerous place regardless now. You could be walking down the street and you might as well have security.
Well, I don't think as a general, I've managed to go my whole way through life without anyone strangling me or being gangbanged. I mean,
it depends what type of sex you like.
Yeah, no, and again, that's why I get it comes back to the consent issue.
Like, I'll never argue or say you shouldn't find it disgusting or you shouldn't find it repulsive. I just really dislike it when you try and make a statement, not yourself, but for many other people I've sort of spoke to, they're like, those men are disgusting, these men are this. And I'm like, how can you be so poorly educated that you're making a statement, yet I've never spoke to them, you've never even got to know them, whereas my whole life is dedicated to having sex with them and getting to know them. And
well, that's why I wanted to speak to you in person rather than judging you. Bonnie Blue, time is up. I really appreciate you coming, and I appreciate your honesty in the answers. She's a porn star social media influencer. She's actually Tia Billinger.
Maybe I'll see you at my event on Saturday.
I think you probably won't. I think realistically you will not. I'd like to hear your reaction, your thoughts on what Tia had to say. Give us a call, 0344 499 1000. If you have turned the radio down because you've got kids in the car, you can turn it back up again now, I promise.